I can't wait to be replaced by AI. Yeah, of course it's a threat. It's idiotic to say that it's not. There are those people who say, "Oh, won't affect my level." Well, you don't know that. You don't know that at all in the slightest.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Voice Acting Unplugged Season 2. In fact, Margaret, it's
Yes.
Season 2. Can you believe it? Here is
victory.
the delectable and inimitable and extraordinary Margaret Ashley.
Oh, wow, that was a bit of an introduction. You're going to have to think of some more superlatives for
I know,
next
I
one.
didn't think of enough that time. They just sort of fell out. But there we
Right.
go.
Well, hello, Anthony, and nice to see you again. It's been a little while. So here we are back in Season 2, and we have got a really wonderful guest with us today, someone I've known for quite some time. Is the guy you go to when Cumberbatch isn't available, you know, but I mean, you should go to him first, really. So he is, yeah, he agrees, he is a voice actor, and he's also a bit of a social media icon. He's, I'll let him explain who he is and what he does himself.
I'm already
He-
sick of this person that you've presented. So
Okay,
sounds
here
like
is,
a right piece of work. So.
here is Mr. Natural RP himself, Chris Tester. Tell us about yourself, Chris.
Yeah, what you said, Margaret. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, of course, definitely. And I think I first met you, Margaret, probably at the Von events. Some of the Von events or the voiceover network events, maybe back in the
I think
day.
it was actually at a secret restaurant
At a secret
with
restaurant.
with a little special hand to get in.
Oh yeah. No, I think that's true.
In
I think
Regent
that's
Street.
true. Yeah.
That sounds like something from the Freemasons or
Yeah,
something. What's going on here?
Well, it was a
We're-
bit strange.
Yeah, but I mean that's a story that Margaret can tell. That's absolutely fine.
In
You know,
private.
that's the hook. That's the intrigue. But yeah, so I've been an actor since 2008, and then I've been a full-time voice actor since about 2017. Yeah, so here I am. Hi, how can I be of service?
Right. Well, we're going to talk to you about what you have become very big for over the past few years, which is
Yeah.
social media. I mean, we're going to talk
Sure.
about voice acting as well, but you
Yeah.
suddenly found yourself a special niche in social media, didn't you?
A
Can you
little
tell
bit,
us how
yeah.
you started?
Sure. Well, I think with a lot of people, when you're trying to run your own business, you're aware that social media is a thing, and it may be a thing that could help your business, but you don't know how at all. At the same time, I'd say the vast majority of us want to spend less time on social media, and are probably aware of our screen times and our phone times and all of that at the same time. But are aware that there may be a way of being able to leverage opportunities, but they're not quite sure how that might work. And I was very firmly in that boat as well. I mainly got work from freelancing sites, then from direct marketing. And that's how I got the vast majority of my business, built my business over the first 4 or 5 years. And I would occasionally do a course on social media and then try and apply that to my social media output, and it would promptly fall on its arse and die. And I would never get any work whatsoever from social media. And that's not to cast any shade on those people that I was necessarily working with, because I think there are a lot of approaches which are valid, but not all businesses and not all services are equal. Some are more suitable to different kind of social platforms. But I kept at it. I kept trying. And my biggest thing with it was that was just a way of getting my voice out there without just regurgitating the work that I already record. Because I know, as a slightly reluctant audience to social media, consumer of social media myself, that when I see someone share an example of their work as a fellow voice actor, I may love that other voice actor, but I do not
Especially
care about the work.
when you've done it with that same person.
Yeah. I mean, and it's cool and it's great, but I'm kind of like, oh, that's a great clip, and I'll listen to about 5 seconds of it, and then I'll flick onto something else because they got the gig and I didn't, probably, or because it's not for me. I'm not the audience for it. So it was trying to find ways of being able to inject your personality into the social media content and make what you offer and you more memorable as a result. So I tried lots of different techniques to it, and then through bloody consistency, I started
But you
to
got
get
the knives out.
Yeah, I started to get some. I started to get some traction, and all it took was one video, really.
And what was that?
It was not what you thought it would be. It was not like a 1 minute or under, really, with a hook or anything else like that. It was a 6-minute monologue from the perspective of the god Zeus, if he had created the internet. My theatre director / writer friend, Ross McGregor, who I used to do a lot of theatre stuff with, and who Margaret has been involved with kind of a side project with called Project Troy, that the inception of that was a monologue that Ross wrote as part of a different theatre play that he did called Persephone. And I just did it because I thought it was a fantastic piece of writing, this kind of rant about the internet, which was 6 minutes long. And it got, I think, about 300,000 views on TikTok.
Wow.
And from that...
And that was 6 minutes on TikTok.
Yeah, that was 6 minutes, and
That's
people say,
unusual.
"Oh no, it's got to be, a minute or 10 seconds or 30 seconds long, and short and punchy and memorable and blah 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 blah." Anyway, so that happened, and from that, I started to more consistently just put stuff out there. But basically, I mean, my whole approach is that I want to de-risk my approach to business as much as possible. So if I am spending time creating stuff, it can't just purely serve, I'm creating content. It's also got to serve something else for me as well. So essentially what I do is I record speeches, cold readings of speeches from film, theatre, animation, video games, anything, everything, or books, absolutely everything. And what that meant was that I, as an actor, was cold reading every day. I was vocally warming up every day, and I was also doing some form of emotional preparation every day, which, in all honesty, when I just have one corporate video to do in a day, I'm not going to do. I don't bother doing it. Whereas if I'm holding myself responsible through the act of creation, then I do it. Because that's part of my craft, and it's part of my craft that had fallen off because I got lazy. So even if I didn't get an audience from the stuff that I create, and for the first 6 months whilst I was posting between 3 and 5 times a week, I didn't have an audience other than my mum, and that was quite deliberate as well because it was during COVID, and she couldn't see me in plays, and my dad had just passed away, so it was a big connection thing.
Yeah.
In all honesty, me, performing and her sending me notes was kind of like, oh, okay, well, the easiest thing to do is for me to post it on Instagram rather than me trying to send it as a video to her and she go, oh, I don't know how to open that. So it's about keeping myself accountable and sharing something with my mum. That was it, really.
Even my mum won't listen to my stuff.
Yeah,
That's just the way it
well,
goes.
fair enough. That's your mum's loss, obviously. And off of the back of that, it was kind of like, so I tried different texts, and that was nice because it was a way of just encountering, of practicing, but low stakes. And then off the back of that, it kind of built and built and built. And now, even with I post semi-regularly on somewhere like LinkedIn, where I'll do text posts, and on that I'll still use the same idea, which is like, even if this one post doesn't necessarily result in X number of leads or Y number of engagements or whatever, I'll take that post and I will repurpose it on my newsletter, and I'll repurpose it on my blog, on my website, to help with my website SEO. So the whole idea is that, like, I'm not ever just doing one thing and hoping that it's going to suddenly, catch fire. Oh, no, it didn't. So that's a wasted time doing it. So, it's trying to build something so that you get some form of joy or satisfaction, or it serves another kind of like purpose.
And how long did it take before you started to get traction?
Like I said, about 6 months.
6 months, okay.
About 6 months of once I decided on the thing that I actually enjoyed doing, regardless, because I spent a lot of time doing like, oh, here's some trending audio, let's try and do a funny skit. And the thing about, especially on Instagram, that's still quite a big thing. Less of a thing now, but it was like, if you do the trending audio thing, you're more likely to come up in people's feeds. And you are, but it also means if you're using the trending audio, you're not necessarily using your voice, which is the thing that you're trying to sell.
Yeah.
And I'm just
absolutely.
like, so what's the point of that? And all of the marketing, however you market, whether or not it's going on pay-to-plays and auditioning, whether or not it's cold emailing, whether or not it's LinkedIn or whatever, the one thing that we want people to hear is our voice, regardless. Then they can decide it's not the right voice for right now or whatever, but you need to hear my voice and how amazing or not I am as an actor. And sure, with direct marketing, it's all about... here are my show reels. So I need you to click on the website and then click on the show reel. So that's 2 clicks. With social media, it's instantaneous. It's there. And you'll see me performing in my home studio, and you'll either want to listen, so your audio will be on, or it won't be. And that's absolutely fine. But it's the most direct-to-market way of using my kind of voice in a non-salesy way, because I'm not necessarily popping up in emails with personal videos to people all of the time going, hi, I need you to hire me because I've got a mortgage to pay and a cat to feed, and holidays to go on to and whatever.
Do you still do that kind of marketing though as well?
Yeah. No, I still do direct marketing. Yeah, sure. Because
Honey's got her own fan base.
Yes, yeah, of
Honey's
course,
the cat.
But you know, yeah, like, because different clients are going to hang out in different spaces. Yeah. I know there are going to be clients who will never be aware of my social media following, and that's absolutely fine with me. Sometimes it's quite hilarious, but it's absolutely fine. Because, if it's like, yeah, Chris, I don't know if you've ever heard about Warhammer 40k. And I'm like, yeah, no, I have. I've done about 60 videos and 5 audiobooks and 8 video games in that world. But no, tell me again about the Space Marines. But that's great. Whatever. But yeah, so rather that I do spread bet now. So I'm my main job is to be all pervading, and I'm sorry about that, because it is irritating, I'm sure. But people can always mute me.
Now,
so there you go.
LinkedIn is one of the media areas that you go on to, and you get quite a lot of traction there. Do you find you get work from that connection on LinkedIn?
I do, but it's in huge waves and it takes ages of time. So I would say, like, for me, I find it conducive partly as a writing exercise, because it's like through the act of writing, I understand what I know and what I don't know. So I'm not coming to it purely from like, oh my God, I need to create content, even though I hate the sound of my own voice and I don't want to be thought of as X, Y, or Z kind of like person. Quite often, and I think this is something that I need to lean back onto more, which is rather than templates or, what are the 3 questions about voiceover productivity that every voice actor needs? I don't care. Kill me now. It's like, shush. And I've been guilty of writing that kind of stuff as well. But I think in a post-chat GPT world where everybody can create some form of middling content or have middling content created for them, now it's more about kind of like what your unique insights might be. So I enjoy that challenge, whether or not that's like, this is a helpful director note to get in a session and this is not, or how you perceive yourself, or what your feelings are about AI, which was a recent one. Obviously that's always hot right now until everybody is sick to the back teeth of talking about it, and then it goes in those waves of fear, anxiety, and when will I have to remortgage my house, all of that kind of stuff. But to answer your question, Margaret, sorry, which is that, yes, occasionally people will drop into my DMs and they will come up with work, or they'll go like, oh, yeah, I've seen you on LinkedIn and all of this kind of stuff, and it's great. But is it like, is it easily to trace? No, it's really difficult to. And I think you either come to terms with that and trust the process, but if your bills aren't getting paid and there's other things that may work better in in whatever limited amount of time that you have, then do those things instead. or do those things more. And so if that means, because one of the things is like I am in the process of getting back on doing a little bit of pay to play stuff just for some variety and for a different audition experience and to see if I can get a wider variety of work again. But I haven't been on pay to plays for about 7 or 8 years, pretty much since I started, because of my whole acting sensibility of throwing stuff into the void and not hearing back. And for my mental health, I hate that.
Yeah.
Like I've got an amazing agent in VoiceFox who sends me amazing opportunities, and that's different because they're of a certain higher quality. But when it's like, I need to send 20 auditions or 60 auditions or 200 auditions to get that one, there are some people who can detach themselves better, and so their thing becomes like, how is the quickest way that I can achieve that metric? How can I get those 200 auditions or 60 auditions or 20 auditions that I know means that, on averages, I'll book X number of work and have X number in the bank. For some people, that's the game, and that's great. I just know that for my model and for my mental health, that doesn't necessarily appeal to me as much as there are more creative ways around it, rather than just being creative in the takes that you do. And so that's my solution right now. But again, it changes.
So talk to us about pay-to-play. What sort of pay-to-play stations are there out there? This is for people who don't know anything about it. How would they go about it? Which would be good ones for them to go on? And why would they be?
I mean, I'm not the person to really ask because I've not been on pay-to-plays for so long at all. But, I mean, I would say in terms of ethically, pay-to-plays are subscription sites. So you pay a certain amount of money to be able to play, i.e. get these audition opportunities and invitations. And on some of them, it's just a straight monthly fee or annual fee, and some of them are tiered. So maybe if you want to pay 3 times as much, you'll get you'll get more opportunities, or you'll get that opportunity a little bit sooner. And there are a variety of different platforms, and I think also the big thing is that depending on where you are located in the world, different platforms are going to benefit you differently. So, for example, Bidalgo is held up as this amazing platform, which is a German-based platform that works to mainly European clients, and I know some
Americans.
and Americans to a degree as well. I've been on Bidalgo, I think, for all of about 3 months over the last 7 years, and I've never seen an audition worth my time. But that's just been my own very limited experience of it. And, my sensibility of I don't want to be hunting out for loads of auditions for explainer videos, in all honesty. But I know that Voice 123 is one that people talk about a lot. And I think Ralph, who who operates Voice 123, is at least open in having conversations with the voice acting community. They've done a lot of bad things, but they've owned them, and they talk about stuff constantly, so there's full transparency. And then I think you've got probably the Death Star, which is voices.com, which has almost no transparency and behaves incredibly unethically, but is so all-pervading that especially in the American market, it still seems to be doing good business. But yeah, there are a lot of different ones out there, and I think you need to kind of trial them yourself to see where might be best and most opportune.
I've actually tried Voice 123 myself for the first time in a while, and the tiered system for me is a slightly difficult one to accept in an ethical sense.
Yeah.
Because you are getting, if you're on the basic level of it, you'll get auditions, but they will be after maybe 20, 30 people have auditioned already.
Sure.
At which point, you're asking people to listen to so many auditions for what might be a basic corporate read.
Well, I'm not a Voice 123 advocate because, like I said, I'm just contemplating going back on a couple of different ones, or maybe just one or two to see. All I would say is that there are conversations where I think Ralph specifically has kind of gone into the fact that they don't necessarily get the submissions purely in the order that they're submitted. So it's not it's not necessarily so speed related as people assume it would be. Obviously, it's an advantage, and the hint is in the name, pay to play. So there's necessarily a degree of those people who can afford to will get the greater access, and
Yeah.
that's always a tension. Whether or not that's in the pay-to-play sphere or if it's in the social media sphere, which is like if you've got the time to do all of this content creation. I mean, I probably spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours selecting material and recording stuff a week. It used to take me a lot more. But now I literally pay someone to edit the videos for me. So I pay £50 on average a week. Plus there's another 2 hours of my working week that I take out of time to do that content creation. Now I can only afford to do that because of other jobs that I've got and, working on, at various other places to that stage. So that I can afford to speculate with my time more in a low stakes way on social media, whereas I appreciate that there are vast majorities of other people who are like, they've got kids to juggle, family to juggle with, and all of that kind of stuff. Trying to find even an extra half an hour or even 20 minutes, let alone an extra 3 hours, isn't necessarily feasible. So it's always an equation.
Sure.
But that's why, I think identifying all of the different ways that you could be earning money and you could be building a business is the first goal. Then it's seeing like, okay, which ones have I tried and what have my results been? And if you're not sure, then you need to kind of get clear. Like, if I have been doing email marketing, well, how many marketing emails have I actually sent and how much have I actually booked from it? Social media, it's much more difficult, but you can at least go like, how much time a week have I spent, how many hours or over X amount of time have I spent on social media versus how much money has come in from it? And quite often you won't know unless you ask your client. And your client might direct email you and say it's because of a direct email that you sent to them, but it could also be because they also saw you on Instagram or on TikTok or on LinkedIn or on another roster or something. So being very, very clear about making sure that you ask people, how did you find me, is super invaluable. And it also opens you up to, social media for me, as we were discussing kind of before the show, it opened me up to genres of work that I would never have contemplated at all, such as audiobooks. So yeah, it's a funny old mix.
So how do you find, if you hadn't had that hit with that 6-minute video on TikTok,
Yeah.
do you think you would have continued with TikTok? Is TikTok useful to you?
Yeah, I mean purely off the basis of trying to keep myself responsible to my craft. That sounds incredibly wanky, right? Yeah, good, fantastic. I'll be completely honest. I'm a theatre actor before I'm a voice actor ever, but I'm not in theatre anymore. So what am I going to do with myself, right? And one of the things is audiobooks now, but because then I can play all of the characters and it's fine because nobody has to share the spotlight with me. But it's kind of like that rigor. Which sometimes goes with when you're left to your own devices, or when people are just like, just make it really conversational, and you're like, well, yeah, fine. So for me, that making it a public act keeps me accountable for kind of stuff. So it serves a purpose. But as I said, like if you're not comfortable about getting out there, then you don't have to do it. If you can find other ways, or of other ways that you can be earning the money, and it's about the life that you want to lead ultimately. It's like, I could probably earn more money if I just kind of like subscribe to every pay-to-play platform that I could afford to do and just like hammered the auditions. I probably could earn more money, but that's not the life that I want to live.
No.
Yeah, but there are some people who are just like, I want as many auditions as possible because it's like that's where the biggest tickets necessarily are, which is very often the case. But the delight of the social media stuff for me has been the sheer variety of the work, is that you're working with people at every stage of their career, and it's the unexpected stuff. So it's like I've sworn off doing any animation as well because I can't do all of the varied, heightened voices. Not that I'm saying animation is all about that, because I know it's about deep character work and stuff like that, and it's about high stakes being played very seriously. I know there's a craft behind it, but I'm not an animation talent. And yet through social media, that's how I've got animation gigs. And I'm like, great, fantastic. People know who I am, what it is that I can do. And so they've come to me with a particular role in mind already, rather than me trying to kind of crowbar myself into something, going like, I can still play a teen. No, you can't, Chris. Get over it. You couldn't when you were a teen. So it's that kind of like balance. So, but it's risky at the same time, because, in an alternate world, there'd be part of me that would be like, if social media never existed. I think I'm still of the generation who can remember a world where we didn't have phones that constantly logged us in and told us about what everybody else was doing. And I quite like that. And unfortunately, we know we're not going back to that anytime. But, there's part of me that would be like, that would be nice. So yeah, but it is working for me. So I feel as if I do need to double down onto it, and I do enjoy doing the stuff that I'm doing, much more than just the marketing emails.
Another thing, you've recently changed your branding.
Yes, I have.
With your blue suit and your orange stripe. How important do you think your branding is, and has it worked for you? Has it taken you into other areas?
Yeah, I can't say what areas it has or hasn't taken into me. It's like, finally. Basically, my original brand was like a bit tongue-in-cheek, but, I'm in a blue suit. It's all very kind of British, hoity-toity kind of thing, with a teacup, with the little pinky out. So there's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek aspect to it, I hope. Anyway, that's what people got from it, that I wasn't trying to take myself too seriously. But, because of the way I naturally sound, there are those connotations. And then after, 6 years of that, I was like, okay, I need to disrupt it a little bit. So I went to not a traditional kind of headshot provider, to have a play with that, and that involved getting paint on the suit. And yeah, that was partly because I do a lot of work in like the gaming sector, and there's a lot more, and also I hope that one of the things that I bring to whatever I'm working with is a degree of playfulness, or a willingness to go outside the box to some kind of degree. And so that makes clear in terms of my messaging. And again, it's just the wanting to be memorable for the right reasons. And I know from like when I'm recommending other voiceover artists, because I can't do it or I'm not right for a job and that kind of stuff. And so you do a bit of kind of accidental competitor analysis. You see what everybody else's websites are like, and you see how accessible, can I find their email address? Are their demos downloadable? And also, like, can I remember their name? So all of these kind of things. And I just kept seeing, not that there's anything wrong with having, like, it's a microphone and a sweater and a microphone and a sweater and a microphone and a sweater. But I was kind of like, okay, right, so we've established what the kind of like the mean is, what the average is here. How in any way could I be visually memorable as well as, because the whole job is to be like, is to stop the scroll or make a listener stop and really listen, right? Okay, so visually, could we back this up in any way as well? Even if they're like, what the hell is that? That if that makes them stop, if there's that pattern interrupt to a degree. And so I thought, yeah, that would be a fun way of doing it. So there may be people who kind of question the sanity of that choice. I'm not saying that everybody needs to cover themselves in paint, because that's going to get old quick. It's going to compromise my brand. Yeah. But I was just kind of like, okay, if you're dealing with creative people, then you got to kind of deal on their creative terms, right? I mean, to a degree. At the same time, if I need someone to unblock my toilet, I don't care about their branding. I care about them turning up when they say, and if I phone them, that they pick up, and that they respond to my voicemail messages, and that they have the right parts and all of that kind of stuff. So it's a balancing act between efficiency and style. But I thought there was a bit of a I thought there was a gap in the market, because I think that comes from like, we want to be actors and we want to be a blank slate so that we can be whatever you want me to be type of thing, whether or not you're transformative or not. You want to be like project whatever it is your needs are onto me. And I got that from having to dress in all black for 3 years at drama school. because they were like, it's all about the neutrality. So no piercings, no tattoos. That's all gone out the window now. Now it's all about embracing your individuality as much as possible because it's your personal brand, and we're all a bit sick in our mouth about it. But maybe there's a kind of like a balance there. So yeah, has it resulted in more work? Yes, people have specifically mentioned my branding. Yeah,
that's good. And the other thing you mentioned is you have a newsletter. Do you find that works for you? Does that bring work in, or is it just you're letting people know what you're doing?
It's letting people know what I'm doing, really, and that has resulted in some more work. But what I'm not doing is, there's a very clear distinction that needs to be made between an email sequence or an email kind of follow-up and a newsletter. So what I don't do is like write to people and then, regardless of whether or not they say we're interested in your services or we're not interested in your services, sign them up to a newsletter. That I do not do, because that's the quickest way of pissing people off, because they won't have asked for it, and they'll be like, oh, I'll unsubscribe from this thing I didn't ask to subscribe from. Not a good look. But I'll share a link at the end of my LinkedIn post saying, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, then feel free to use this link. And it's the same in all of my email correspondence. And that is literally, it's just a collection of some of my LinkedIn posts reformatted, or other bits of my other social media. So this whole, going back to my first point, which is like anything that you can create, if you can repurpose in some way, shape or form. Because even if you follow me on LinkedIn, you're probably not going to be seeing about 70% of the stuff that I put out. Yeah. So it's just a different way of kind of like keeping in contact with people, at like a low stakes level. So yeah, I mean, it's nigh on impossible for me to track that unless I'm asking people like, oh, I see that you've also subscribed to this. Is this a reason? It gets... Whereas when a client, we are fortunate enough, blessed enough for a client to fall into our inbox, that we're just like, so what do you need? And how soon do you need it? What we don't want to be going is the kind of like, oh, could you fill in this questionnaire about, how you found the whole customer experience of working with me, even though we haven't worked with each other yet. It's all about reducing friction. But yeah, I mean, it's just that kind of thing about like, this is actually quite easy for me to set up now. So it's another way of capturing people's details if they want to proactively sign themselves up, which is different from email marketing, which is like you don't just send one email, you make sure that you've got a certain number of emails kind of ready to kind of fire off afterwards if they haven't responded to the first. Or alternatively, if people do respond positively, you make sure that you keep people in the loop about what you're up to and your availability and what cool things that you've done without getting ridiculously irritating. So normally once every 2 to 3 months is generally a good rule. That's more the email marketing side as opposed to the newsletter side, which is more just kind of my thoughts and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, because it is the elephant in the room, as you mentioned earlier. What's your take on AI and where things are going? Do you think it's a threat to your what you do?
I can't wait to be replaced by AI. Yeah, of course it's a threat. It's idiotic to say that it's not. There are those people that say like, oh, it won't affect my level kind of like of work. Well, you don't know that. You don't know that at all in the slightest. We were 5 years ago. We never imagined that we would have this conversation. I have spoken about this on numerous ways. At the same time, I'm not just anti-AI, because it's here and the genie's out of the bottle to a degree. And I'll be perfectly open in saying that I've had discussions and explored options with how could I monetize an AI version of my voice. Sure. Yeah. And I found that there is at the moment, no obvious, good, effective way of being able to do that with a supplier. There are other companies out there who are, I think, potentially finding some progress right now, but it's not a thing that, like, having an AI version of my voice that I can market to people is not something that really interests me now, having explored it, because AI voices come in at such a low level of pay that even as like, oh, I don't even have to think about it, and it's getting me, work in the background. It's like, it's getting me £12.50 every 6 months in the background.
Yeah.
And my voice is potentially everywhere doing a pretty crap job, That to me makes no sense. Is it a threat? I have lost clients to AI. Yeah, definitely. Yes. for the explainer videos or any kind of content where good enough is sufficient, and for those clients who are price led as opposed to quality led.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's an interesting new development in that YouTube is starting to penalise people for using AI content. Now, it's unclear at the moment what AI content exactly they're clamping down on.
Yeah.
But I find it's an interesting one to bring up with people when they say, "Oh, it's okay, I use AI voices." Oh, is that? Does it worry you that YouTube may penalise your content? Maybe not today, but in the future.
Yeah, I mean, because they're penalising monetized content at the moment.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference in terms of, for a content creator whose main aim is for views and engagement, in order to monetize their channel, then an AI voice is necessarily going to be deaf, but because they can't monetize that content. For someone who has an explainer video that is going to sit on YouTube, but is then also going to be embedded on their website, where it doesn't matter if that content is monetized or not, they can 11 labs themselves to death, and it won't necessarily, at this point in time, it won't have an issue. Like in the future, if other copywriting legislation and AI voice models and loads of conversations we don't have time to go into, is there a risk there? Sure. Is the fact that, you can't really copyright anything that has gone through an AI, so in terms of the content that you are creating, for your potentially your brand or your intellectual property, that's not you don't have copyright of that content as a result.
Right.
Is that so? What legal ramifications does that have for your brand or not? So there's all of this analytical thinking that needs to be involved. But for the real low budget kind of client, they're not going to care about that. And that's obviously not my priority of client. But, I didn't whack in at the high level of voiceover 7 years ago and stay at the top there all of the time. I started on Fiverr, and I still have a profile on Fiverr. And I scaled my rates accordingly as I got better and better and better. But, I still get a certain level of income off that thing. And obviously, necessarily, there's, a counterbalance off that. Because I don't offer one rate there and another rate, on my website or direct, because that would be disingenuous and I'd be found out very quickly. It's like, it's a whole holistic thing. But to say that, oh, well, it's fine because I only deal in big ticket clients. Well, that's a very small minority of the voiceover world, the voiceover ecology. For the vast majority of voiceover talent, it's not like that at all. We'll have the occasional big payday if we're lucky, but, we'll be incredibly grateful for those 5 IVR messages and that explainer video that we got at the end of the week, which kind of made ends meet and made things balancing out at the same time. Which goes, one thing that I've spoken about in the past already, quite recently, is like, how this necessarily shapes the voices that we're going to be hearing. You can go into a straight conversation about like, well, okay, you just need to get good. You just need to get good, right? Okay, and if you're good enough, you'll be able to outperform the machines always, and that's fine, and that's great, and it's wonderful, which is normally a conversation, it's normally a talking point that is made by someone who is already incredibly well established in the industry, probably for about 20 plus years. They tend to be male, they tend to be white, they tend to be from America, and it's like, I get it, yeah, you need to be better than the machine, you definitely do, but there's a wider thing in terms of like, one of the wonderful things about home studios is that it brought a variety of different voices and different demographics and better representation, he says, as a white middle-class male. I'm fully aware of the irony of this. But, these are all things that have fed me and my inspirations and my growth as an artist and as a voice actor too, right? And is, what we want to be seeing more of, right? Okay. But what AI does, it's putting that barrier to entry in for those people just starting out, or those people who've been doing it for a couple of years and are saying, like, maybe I can go full-time, or maybe I can reinvest and do the X, Y, or Z kind of thing. Yeah. I think if AI continues to take away or is an increasing threat to those kind of jobs, then that necessarily means we kind of go full circle. We go from like, oh, home studios are great because it's broadened out, this huge kind of potential and more people can do it now, blah, 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 to, oh, actually, no, it's the same small select group of people, or just those people who can like bring an audience. And, I'll, again, be completely open. I'm playing both ends of it at the same time. I'll say, like, no, it should be about the best person and the most authentic voice and all of this kind of thing. At the same time, I fundamentally believe that actors innately have to be transformational to a degree. So it's not just like we only have to play ourselves, because that way is the death of kind of art and creativity. Yeah. But I'm also aware of like, oh yeah, the social media thing, that's a useful thing for me because it's leverage. Because as well as offering my service and my amazing acting skills, bless you, and all of that kind of thing. The other thing that I can offer an audience is like, I've got 750,000 followers on social media.
There's a whole lot you could offer. Lots of people, Chris, but we've run out of time.
There you go. Anyway, so
we've really gone over, but we could listen to you all day. And I'm sure we'll have you back again sometime.
I wanted to read out where people can come and find you, because you offer training and all sorts of
a little bit, it's not my big thing, but yes, it's there.
So they can come and find you at naturallyrp.co.uk. That's your main website.
That is.
And that has all your contact details on there as well.
Sure.
Thank you so much for giving us your time. That's been absolutely fascinating. It's a slightly different world to my world, so it's always interesting to hear how other people tackle marketing in particular. Is just a huge thing. So thank you very, very much for joining us and giving us your time.
My pleasure.
And being our first guest on the new second season of Voice Acting Unplugged.
And of course, this being about social media, this episode, we're going to be plastering it all over social media. Yes. So anybody who has listened to this, please leave us your comments, leave us reviews if you can, and spread the word and press subscribe to Voice Acting Unplugged. It's been great having you on, Chris. Thanks very much.
My pleasure.
Wonderful.
Take care.
Thank you for listening. Cheers. Bye now.